Welcome to eFileCabinet. This is actually our new 2016 eFileCabinet user interface. Those of you who have seen the 2015 and earlier interface, which is still available, are aware that it looks more like a Microsoft Windows application. So this interface has our commands via tabs and icons, and as you see I scroll over everything. It gives me different options. So what I wanted to show you was specifically the different ways to scan documents into eFileCabinet. First of all, if you have a traditional scanner, traditional scanners are very limited in what they can do, particularly big network scanners, because they will give you essentially two different ways to bring documents into your computer. You can either scan it and it's going to drop itself into a folder. Like you can see in my downloads folder, I end up with a folder that has a lot of different products. These are not all scans, but a lot of my products will end up with a numeric name that's attached to them. And if I am scanning particularly documents, then the documents come in and will be various sizes based on how many pages I scanned it. So if I have 100 pages I need to scan, or 200 or 500, and I want them to be in separate documents of here's 5 pages, here's 20 pages, here's 30 pages, then I literally have to spend my time at the scanner feeding it the first 5 pages, let it batch, wait for it to complete, now send it the next 20 pages, let it batch, wait for it to complete, and I'm wasting my time at the scanner when I could be working. And so that's one problem with network scanners and scanners that do not have what's called a Twain interface. And if I have one of those scanners, however, you don't have to buy a new one. You can still use it in eFileCabinet. You can simply come over and upload your documents, choose your cabinet and your drawer, and bring in those files. I can also come in through our Sidekick, choose the files that I want to bring in. If I bring Sidekick down here, I can open up that same cabinet, go into my files, and literally drag and drop all of these different files into eFileCabinet. Of course, I'll still have to rename them, and I still have to waste my time batching my documents, but I can still bring them in very, very easily into eFileCabinet. If my scanner happens to send it to an email, I can have my email in here, I can have my attachment, and if with the eFileCabinet print driver, I can choose to have that be my default printer, and I can print that straight to eFileCabinet. So there are a number of ways that I can bring documents into eFileCabinet without the very useful Twain driver. If I have a Twain driver, however, you get to take advantage of the eFileCabinet interface. Twain drivers, spelled T-W-A-I-N, like Mark Twain, will, instead of batching automatically and naming and throwing your documents somewhere automatically, they actually allow you to have quite a bit more control. So first of all, if I scan in some pages, it's going to preview over here. It's not going to automatically name those pages. I can come in and scan additional pages in, and it'll add these pages to this other one. So now you can see that I've got 9 pages, and I can preview these pages. I can go through them. Now, our scanning interface will also give you the ability to do some quick minor edits. I can delete a page if a page came in. I can actually rotate it if I need to switch the rotation of it, as well as invert it or create a bookmark with this page. Because these pages are going to be stored into eFileCabinet as a PDF, I can do all of these things very quickly before I save the page. I can also drag and drop. You see that page hovering around my arrow. I can drag and drop it and switch the order of my pages. So, however, the most important thing that I can do, and the thing that is going to save you the most amount of time, is that I can actually select these pages. I can choose my control button, and I can be very granular and selective in which pages I've got selected. So that in this case I've got page 1, 3, 5, and 6. Or I can use my shift button and do a block select and grab all of those pages. Once I tell it to store, our interface recognizes that you've separated out some of these pages, and you get the opportunity to save these selected pages only. Now this is where I want to put in a note. Depending on which version of eFileCabinet Online you're using, you will have a slightly different process, but the same amount of saved time. So if you're using the new eFileCabinet Online version, I have access to this little sidekick right here. And Sidekick gives you a floating desktop where I can come in and I can view all of my documents. I can go into particular clients and folders and files, and if I right click on it, I can tell it to pin this item. That means that anything that I print to eFileCabinet or anything that I scan over, I'm just telling it that I'm working on this client for the next little while and I want these documents to go straight into it. That gives me the ability to literally choose one client. I work on that client, I send my documents over, and I get to save the steps of continuously telling the system that I'm going to send it to the same client. Most businesses will work in one area and then they'll move on to the next area or the next client in paperwork. Now, as soon as I go to the next client, I can unpin this, go back, choose my next client I'm working on, go to their file, and pin that file. So it's simply that easy to tell the system where to send my documents. If, however, I am still working in eFileCabinet Online, our original version, then I'm going to do something slightly different. I'm going to do that order a little bit different. If I'm working in that old version, I'm going to actually go ahead and click OK, store these pages separately. So before I click OK in the new version, I want to tell it where to store the pages. In the old eFileCabinet Online, I'm going to click OK first. It's going to push me over to this pop-up box. You'll notice this is our Microsoft version of eFileCabinet Online. I can then come in, choose my correct client, choose my correct folder, and save this document and name it if I'd like to, and upload that document. Either way, whether I'm using the Sidekick or I'm using the older version of eFileCabinet, I am going to have the ability that once I come back, the system recognizes that I have saved these pages and I get to clear them. So now, instead of my 9 pages, I now have 5 pages. I can now do the same thing, choose my next batch of pages, and store those pages separately. So this very active being able to save massive amounts of time at the scanning function of your scanner will drastically reduce the amount of time that you spend bringing in paper files. You can spend your time separating out those documents and then still going in to your folders, renaming them. If you can tell from the previews, perhaps you can just rename them here by right-clicking on them and then bring them into eFileCabinet. However, that is 3 to 4 times the amount of steps that you really need to take if you're using eFileCabinet's scanning driver. So if you do have a Twain scanner, this is going to save you about 2/3 of the time you would normally take to bring in a lot of files. And that will add up to hours and hours of saved time, even if you are only bringing in one filing cabinet worth of paper. So if you have any questions, let me know. Feel free to email me at aduran@efilecabinet.com or to call me at 801-921-7357. Have a wonderful day. Thanks.